Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I want to talk about where you should start if you're wanting to play the Trails series. Now, if you don't know, Trails has so many games, like way too many of them, to where it can be really confusing to even know where to start, how they're connected, and all that stuff, because like when I first started getting into the series, I started technically midway through. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to play this certain game or whatever if you really want to. If there's a game that looks intriguing to you and it's like on sale or something, I think you should get it, even if it may not be the best place to start. If it makes you a Trails fan, then I think it did its job. But in this video, I wanted to share my personal thoughts on where you should start, because I technically have a couple ways that you could start. So let's get into it with the very first way, and that is the first official game, Trails in the Sky FC. Now, this game is only available on Steam. It's a remaster of the PSP version. However, we are getting a remake that's going to be available on like all the consoles like Switch and PS5. So if you only have like a Switch, then this could be a very good place for you to start. You just gotta wait a couple more months, and hopefully the remake will be good. The gameplay seems to be more like the Daybreak games, so it is going to be a little bit different from the remake, but hopefully the remake will be good. But yeah, so if you're gonna only want to watch a minute into this video, play Trails in the Sky, either the remake that's coming out or the game on Steam. But if you don't want to play on Steam and you don't want to wait for the remake, then let me introduce you to Trails from Zero. This is the first game in the next arc, so it is a pretty good starting place for you, because there are going to be new characters for you to explore, and a whole new like environment for you to explore with a whole different country, so it's not like you're like missing part of the story. And it has like Lloyd in it, and I've seen that this arc is actually a lot of people's favorites. This and Azure, just really good. And this arc only has 2 games in it, so it could be a little bit more manageable if you just want to like go through a full arc and then see how that feels. The Sky series technically has 3 games, though the 3rd game is a little bit more disconnected, though I would not recommend you play the 3rd game first, even if it doesn't have Estelle and Joshua as the main protagonists. Definitely play Trails in the Sky the 3rd after the first 2 games. That's like my hard cutoff. But yeah, the Crossbell games are really good, so it's a good place to start. Now the last game I'm going to suggest if you want to get into the series is going to be the Cold Steel games. Now this is the part that I actually started the series on, because I didn't realize there's a whole bunch of games all connected. I thought it was 4 Cold Steel games, and I was like, perfect. It's a pretty big series, but nothing too big, and then I realized that there was 5 games before the first Cold Steel game, and it was like a lot after. And I think Cold Steel is a pretty good starting place. I mean, it's where I started. And this one's a little bit different because you're like in a school, so there's like a bit of that like Persona vibe, but like not too much Persona, you know? It has a similar vibe. And yeah, I really like the music in Cold Steel. Like Exceed is one of my favorite battle tracks in the series. But yeah, I like Reen. I like the whole cast of Class 7. It's all really good, and if you want to start here, I say go ahead. There are going to be some minor spoilers in this game that kind of ruin past reveals. Now, it's nothing too big, you know, it's not like, oh, this totally ruins the ending of Trails in the Sky. But it's just something to be aware of that maybe if you do start Trails in the Sky, you'll get a better experience. But for me personally, it didn't like ruin Trails in the Sky or anything. And like, if you do start at Cold Steel, just be prepared for a lot of like world building and stuff that got explained in Trails in the Sky, like what racers are, what all this stuff is, these different countries. Some of that stuff may be easier to digest if you are playing the earlier games, but I will also say that if you are playing on Switch, right now you can't play the first 2 Cold Steel games. I think there's some like publisher stuff with that to where they just can't be on there. So right now, Switch is probably the worst console to get it on, but all the other games are there. If you only have a Switch, then don't try to start with Cold Steel because you'll start with Cold Steel 3. And Cold Steel 3 is kind of like the cutoff to where after Cold Steel 2, I really do think you should go back and play through the previous games. Once again, I can't stop you if you want to keep going, but I think you might enjoy it more if you play through those previous games and knew those characters and those stories and just know more about Trails. But yeah, those first 3 arcs are kind of my personal places where you should start. Now you can start at Daybreak, which is a whole other cast of people, but the further you get down in the series, the less I'm inclined to say start here, just because there's all these characters that you could know. But again, if you start at Daybreak and love it, play through the second one, and then maybe go back through the series, It's kind of hard right now to like suggest go back, because if you don't have Steam, then you really can't go back too far. Like Trails into Reverie, these are the games that are just going to be probably more enjoyed once you play through the previous games. But then you also have like Falcom saying that you can start with the newest game, Trails into Horizons, and like, yeah, you can start there. It would be like if you started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth without playing Remake or even the original FF7. I don't think you can enjoy it as much if you don't know the previous story, if you haven't experienced it. And I said you can start with any game, but I'm going to reiterate that you should probably start with the beginning of an arc, even if it isn't Trails in the Sky, start at the beginning. And that's why I say Trails in the Sky the third, do not start with that one. That is one in particular that I think is much more enjoyable after you've played through the first two. But for the whole series mostly, play through the arcs in order, at least play through all the Cold Steel games before you start with Cold Steel 4. You gotta know who Reen is in Cold Steel 1 before you get there. But yeah, this is a series I really enjoy. Even if Trails in the Sky can be a little slow at times, once you get into that rhythm, it can be so enjoyable to go through and see these characters grow. There's a reason so many people love this series, and I'd love to see more people get into it. Especially with the remake of the first game coming out in just a couple months. It's almost a perfect time for new fans to get into the series. But yeah, if you're a Trails fan, let me know what game you think people should start at. And if you're new to this series, let me know what you think of it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, have a good day, and goodbye!